YouTube fellow community, Beach Boys fans, random people on the internet. My name is Giggens. We are here today to talk about the Beach Boys' ninth studio album, Summer Days and Summer Nights, released on Capitol Records in July 5th of 1965. This is easily one of their best albums. Hands down, this thing plays like a greatest hits front to back. It's just an amazing piece of work. Just a fascinating album, and it really is just a killer listen all the way through. Yeah, I just got this. This is the first copy I've ever owned of this album on vinyl for the very first time. I've had this album on CD and tape and everything else for years now, but for my birthday recently, very, very dear friend of mine found this copy, which is a mono copy in insane shape with a shrink on it and the original sleeve. I mean, it's insane. So, many, many thanks. I absolutely love this album. So it's very, very cool to finally have it on vinyl and just kind of appreciate it for its original glory and, hear it the way it was heard in 1965. This album came as the result of the Beach Boys Today being a bit too serious. Capitol thought that the Beach Boys Today, which only came out a few months earlier, didn't sell to their expectations. They expected the Beach Boys to sell a lot of records, and while Beach Boys Today sold really well, and had some amazing classic songs like Dance, 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 and a lot of other songs I can't think of right now, like, that album was definitely a step in a different direction, a much more mature direction that the Beach Boys hadn't really messed around with too much yet, but they would heavily revisit on Pet Sounds. But Capitol was like, you know what, guys, that seems a little too different than what we're used to you guys putting out. Can you please go back and write hits again? So Brian was like, fine, I'll do it. But he wanted to still use his creative expression, but he did it in the poppiest sense that he could, with still being true to himself, and created some of the most timeless, iconic music ever in the process. So it's one of those things where I think if you're a creative person, someone gives you a direction to go, you can run with that and still use your own. What's the word I'm looking for? You can still be you, but you can still placate them and make them happy, but still be you at the same time. And that's what this album sounds like to me. At this point in Brian's life, he had just gottenly, I like that word, just gottenly married in December of '64 to Marilyn. So he had a new marriage in his hands, and he was hanging out with a whole different crew of people now. He was into pot, but he discovered LSD for the first time, and the things I've read over time, apparently the dosage to which you take it these days is a tenth of the amount to what Brian would have taken at that time. LSD was still kind of a new thing at that time, and so, his first few trips were insane, and he said he saw God on one of the first trips he ever took, which is crazy. So LSD changed the way he perceived things and the way he approached music. I mean, the intro to California Girls is an LSD trip. And beyond that, Bruce joined the band. Bruce Campbell, Bruce Campbell, totally different Campbell. Glenn Campbell left the touring unit, and Bruce came in, and then stayed forever. Bruce didn't think it was going to be a permanent position. He thought he was going to go back to Columbia Records and stay there as a producer and stuff. And then Brian was like, hey, come down and sing on this new song I got going on, and that was it. He's been in the group ever since. Well, on and off. You know the story. For the most part, everything you hear here on this album was recorded for this album. Not much was left on the cutting room floor, besides Sherry, She Needs Me, which was later redone for Brian's solo album, Imagination, in 1998, as She Says That She Needs Me. So that song had a long life. It was done a couple more times throughout the 70s. It was one of those things I guess Brian never felt they got right, and so it took him 30 years to finish it. But the version on Imagination is pretty good. Yeah, also around this time, Murray was fired as their manager. The famous Help Me Rhonda sessions, those tapes exist out there of Murray just going back and forth with the guys, and Brian just losing his cool over it. After getting nagged on by this guy so hard, trying to, as he says, record an atmosphere of calmness. And Murray's just ripping on him and making him feel bad and kind of gaslighting him and making him think that, if you're not going to listen to an intelligent guy, I guess I'll go. Like, trying to play with his head. Which is not cool, man. So it's interesting that they actually recorded one of the happiest sounding pop songs from one of the worst environments of getting yelled at the whole time, and they fired him. They couldn't take it anymore. And so Murray was out, and Murray and Audrey were both living in two different places because they were kind of separated. They loved each other deeply, but they couldn't be with each other together, so they both had their own separate houses. Brian got his house on Laurel Way with Marilyn, and they started living there and decorating that place up. So this was an era of transformation and growth for all of the guys, but Brian in particular because he was steering the ship at this point. Um, so fascinating album, and definitely it's just funny to see like this picture of these like four guys just hanging out having a good time, not realizing that some of the heavy stuff was starting to happen. Al missed the boat, as he says, because he was sick that day. That's why he's not on the cover. But um, they produced some amazing music on this album. So the Girl from New York City is what opens this thing. Mike takes the lead on it, and Brian soaring over the chorus vocals is one of my favorite things ever. Doing his, woo, I can't do it, but you know what it sounds like. Really cool dynamic. I like the really bouncy bass on this thing. There's a rollicking bass on this thing. The group vocals in the chorus for me have a bit of a laid-back approach, but they're also very tight and punctual at the same time. They don't sound like they're hitting you over the face with like how layered their harmonies are, but they're there. It just sounds really fun and laid back, but very cohesive at the same time. I like the rockin' sax refrain that opens the song and pops up once in a while. And the really cool, clean, slinky guitars that pop up throughout this thing add a really nice, chimey dynamic, almost like a bird sound to this, the Birds, not like a robin or a cardinal or something, but like the band, the Birds. A jangly guitar kind of effect. Very effective. Cool opening track, super fun, very catchy, cool to sing along to. Amusement Parks USA, this song is hilarious. I really enjoy this song. It definitely captures that circusy, fun time, fair sound with this organ, this, circus organ that stays throughout the entire track. They're talking about the different parts of the park you can go to, the different rides, the different attractions. And the middle bit, I think, is a lot of fun with, step right up, talking about different things you can see. Brian's crazy laughter throughout the track is really funny. It's just a good, light-hearted song about hanging out on a summer's night, going to the fair. It's a really cool song. Not much else to say beyond that thing. I like the different crowd noises that are there, so it sounds like you're lost in the park with them. The pounding drums the whole time are a lot of fun. It's just propulsive drums. Just rocks the whole way through. Yeah, very fun. Kind of a groovy, a little bit far out of a track. Not too much, but a little bit far out. Then I Kissed Her. Here comes Al taking the lead here. He just nails it. Excellent production. I love the echoey drums, and there's percussion all over this thing. To evoke that whole dancey feel, that clandestinista, the finger symbols and all that kind of stuff. A lot of that movement, shaking, forward rhythm kind of sound. Really, really digging that. And I love the background vocals on this song a lot. The guys really give off a sense of nostalgia and sensitivity, and they really convey that sentiment well to add a dynamic to Al's kind of assured vocal. Where he's assured, but he's also got a little bit of like, this is all new and exciting in his voice, which I think is really cool. It makes for an effective listen, but cool track. Salt Lake City. I love the xylophone that's buried away on this mix. Amazing background harmonies on this one. Again, with those amazing drums. Here comes Hal Blaine just dominating it. Mike and Brian trading vocals here and there is pretty fun. They do that a lot on this album, but it's really cool on this track in particular. And just talking about how cool Salt Lake City was at the time when they were there. The radio station, the people they met, places you can go, the skiing in the winter, what you can do there throughout the year. So it's a really nice little homage to a town they fell in love with for a while there. Girl Don't Tell Me, here comes Carl taking his first lead vocal as the only vocalist on this song. A very rare thing in a Beach Boys album is to have one voice on the entire song the entire time. It happens. It happens. Not all the time, but it pops up once in a while. This was the first time Carl was on his own completely. And it's definitely got a bit of that Ticket to Ride feel, especially with the drums coming in after the chorus, before the verses, and the guitar parts as well. Very Ticket to Ride-like. But I love the simplicity here. It's definitely got a kind of a small, tight rock band feel. It doesn't feel overproduced or have xylophones and horns and all kinds of other stuff on it. It's kind of bare bones, which is kind of cool. Nice addition to the album where it's been a lot of extra instruments happening so far. It's fun to hear it like that. But I like the passion in Carl's voice. I mean, he's definitely got the young Carl voice. So he's still kind of getting it, but a lot of it's already there. But the storytelling, I think, is really effective, and the drama and the passion in his voice are effective, and a lot of fun to listen to. But yeah, the way he sings, "Girl, don't tell me you'll write me again," this time at the end, very cool. The way they kind of changed it up a little bit. And then the single version of "Help Me Rhonda" with Al taking the lead. This was a #1 hit for them, a humongous song, and instantly singable. When you hear it for the first time, you can sing along to it while it's playing for the first time. You know how to sing "Help Me Rhonda," help me Rhonda, like, it's just there. And I think this is a song that also people kind of take for granted in the Beach Boys catalog, where it gets overlooked because it's been played to death on the radio over the years, but there's a lot going on for it that makes it a very important song in their career. I mean, harmony-wise, these guys are super on point. There's a lot of changes and dynamics that pop up, and a lot of small hooks that happen all over the place between, Al's verses, since you put me down, I've been not doing it in my head. What a weird line. But then you got Mike's part, get her out of my heart. That's catchy. The "Help Me Rhonda" bit, a lot of this song is catchy all over the place, and each guy has a different thing to prove on this song. The guitar solo was a lot of fun. But yeah, it's just a buoyant, exciting, joyous track that is extremely well produced and well executed, and just Brian firing on all cylinders here. Excellent, excellent track. Then side 2 opens with "California Girls," probably the Beach Boys' greatest song to California, and for some people, the best Beach Boy song. It's up there for me for sure, but it's an absolute pop masterpiece. It's an absolute pop masterpiece. I don't think there'd be a Good Vibrations without something like "California Girls" to lead up to that moment. But the cymbal work, the bell parts in the cymbal sounds like waves, smoothly crashing over you. The horns give off this bright, sunny, evocative morning. And then, that walking bass line, almost like the cowboy walking in town. Dun, 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 dun. And then Mike telling us about all the girls he loves and how he loves the ones in California the most. It's an absolutely brilliant track. The production on this thing is absolutely mind-blowing. 50 years later, it's still insanely amazing to listen to that they could have come up with something like this. To have an intro that sounds like the opening of an orchestra warming up to then fade into a Beach Boys song, mind-blowing. It must have been so crazy to hear this on the radio for the first time. It hit #3 on the charts, so it did really well for them, and it's become pretty much one of their anthems. But it's also one of the first times you hear Bruce's voice really dominantly in the song. You can hear him really well in the background on this one. The pace of this song is interesting too, because it's not fast-paced, but it's not slow, but it's also not like, it might be waltz time, I guess, but it just kind of like swings along, but it's got this breezy quality to it that you can't help but be enraptured by and just captured by what they're trying to do. Amazing song, just an absolutely amazing song. It's super catchy. The chorus, again, is one of those things you hear for the first time. As it's playing, you just want to sing along to, "I wish they all could be California girls." Let 'Em Run Wild. Brian takes the lead on this song. He's openly said he's not a big fan of the way he sang this thing. He always said he sounded too shrill or too tinny or something in his voice. I like it. I think his voice is cool on this one. Great use of echo on the production here. The really fun drums, really big, bouncy, bombastic drums there. And really kind of different chords. These are kind of strange chords to throw to each other and make a pop song. But then again, that's the magic of Brian Wilson. The version on this one is mono copy. The song kind of ends abruptly, just kind of gets cut off, which I've never heard before, which I thought was pretty interesting to hear. I guess I've only ever heard the stereo before, so that was kind of cool to hear just kind of drop. Very weird. But fun song. You're So Good to Me. Brian takes the lead on this one too. And again, one of my absolute favorite songs ever by the Beach Boys. It's cute, it's tender, it's sweet. It's just a song about appreciating the one you love and just singing your heart out to them. And what's wrong with that? Some people want to fill the world with silly love songs. Brian's vocal is just amazing on this thing, and the whole way the song pounds through the entire time, and it has this big, bouncy, rollicking feel. It's kind of a funky song, really. But it's super catchy, and you get hooked into the la 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 chorus and the "You're My Baby," oh yeah, dummy maybe, oh yeah, like, very cool, very Beach Boys, very hip, kind of a, product of its time, but always been one of my favorite songs by them, and always will. Absolutely adore this song. Summer Means New Love, which starts off as instrumental here, but years later, 50 years later on No Peer Pressure, Brian turns it into Somewhere Quiet with some new words, Al singing with him. So it had a second life there, which is funny because the guitar line on this song sounds like a lead vocal. It sounds like it's in place of what the vocal would have been. So very cool, and definitely a precursor to what Brian would have done with Pet Sounds. You know, there's horn arrangements on this thing, there's some strings. You know, it's a slow dance ballad for being an instrumental tune, but definitely, you know, evokes imagery and evokes a summertime feel. It evokes a love, you know, that romance you'd have with a girl you knew years ago when you were teenagers. You know, it's got that kind of nostalgic feeling to it. But a very cool song. Nice little tune to have on there. I'm Bugged at My Old Man, lead by the Wilson Brothers. This song's just hilarious. It's just a goof. It's just them hanging out, having a good time. But definitely, this was kind of the end of them putting weird songs on their albums, like, you know, Our Favorite Recording Sessions, or, you know, Bull Session with Big Daddy. You know, they have I'm Bugged at My Old Man. So they kind of threw one filler track in the album somewhere, but this one's fun to have. You know, it's about a guy who has an over-controlling dad that, you know, has put him in his room with, you know, breadcrumbs and water and taken away the surfboard and the radio and cut his hair in his sleep. It's just a goofy, fun song, and it's fun to hear Brian, you know, do Elvis impersonations and just kind of scream and have a good time and have some fun. What's wrong with that? And then the last track on here, And Your Dreams Come True. The guys show off all their vocals at the same time with a very short and sweet song. Your send-off to the girl you love as you have to leave her for the night and go back to your place because you're both too young to spend the night together, as the Rolling Stones would have wanted you to. But excellent way to end the album. I love this thing. Absolutely love this album. Here's the back cover. So the guys, you know, give a little thank you, and they kind of say, hey, this is what we're up to. Thanks for being fans. I think Brian even mentions people listening to the Beatles on here, which is kind of funny. But yeah, plus they got, you know, the albums you could have bought at the time. I love seeing that in the back of these old Capitol jackets, and a lot of other companies did that too. But very cool. Very, very cool. So, got the original sleeve here, the green 65 Capitol sleeve here. So you got Beatles 65, Beach Boys Today, Beach Boys Concert, the early Beatles. Very cool. And the record itself is in absolutely fantastic shape. Only a couple of clicks and pops here and there, but overall it's pretty darn clean. There's side 2. So yeah, this is a mono copy. You know, maybe someday I'll find a stereo one, but for now, this is absolutely mind-blowing to own this thing, especially with the shrink on it. Someone took really good care of this thing and appreciated it a lot. And now I appreciate it a lot. So it's in my collection forever. Hands down for me, this album is a 10 out of 10. No problem giving it a 10 out of 10. It plays like a greatest hits album, even with I'm Bugged at My Old Man on there. Every song on here is just an absolute smash, and even though only a handful of these songs were actually singles, what do you got? Help Me Rhonda, California Girls. Was that it? I think those were only 2 songs that were released as single. Well, Then I Kissed Her was a single in the UK in 1967. I don't think You're So Good to Me was a single. Yeah, so even though there's 2 actual singles on here, it plays like a greatest hits album. You could put on the whole thing and enjoy every single second of it. It's fun, it's poppy, but it's sophisticated and really well done at the same time. The instrumentation on it is absolutely fantastic from the Wrecking Crew crowd. The lyrics are top-notch stuff. I mean, Brian, the voices, everything about it is happy. This was arguably the last really big pop Beach Boys album of the 60s before Party came out, which was just them having a laugh, and then Pet Sounds. So this was kind of the grand send-off of the Beach Boys saying, all right, here's our fun poppy sound. This is it. Bye-bye. And your dreams come true. So yeah, fascinating document of the guys at that time. Absolutely love this album. If you've never heard it, pick it up. Enjoy every second of it, because you will. That's it. My name is Giggens. This has been the Beach Boys' Summer Days and Summer Nights, released on Capitol Records, July 5th, 1965, and 10 out of 10. Hands down, man. Groovy times ahead. So that's it. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.